Every church creative is feeling the pressure to produce better video content, better live streams, and better social media. And it can seem overwhelming, but if you're looking for new ideas, if you're looking for new solutions, if you're looking for the camaraderie, networking, and mentorship to help you on your personal journey, you need to attend the Capture Summit this year. I'm Marcel Patillo, the creative videographer over at Church of the City in Tennessee. Join me and hundreds of other techs and creatives at Capture Summit at Woodlands Church in Houston, Texas, September 17th through 18th. You will not want to miss this.
From front of house to center stage, for over 25 years, Earthworks microphones have sculpted the sounds of your favorite concerts, venues, and performances. Earthworks Audio is a sponsor of the Tech Arts Podcast. We are so happy to have them on board and excited to promote the new Earthworks SR117 vocal mic and capsules. To find out more about Earthworks Audio or to get your hands on this mic, go to earthworksaudio.com. That's earthworksaudio.com. Capturing emotion with sound. earthworksaudio.com. From sold-out stadiums to intimate live performance venues, sound engineers agree on one thing for the best digital mixing consoles for live sound. The only name that matters is Digico. As the recognized worldwide standard for live audio mixing, Digico consoles are renowned for their industry-leading sound quality and ease of use. Whether your application is in a church, broadcast, theater, corporate, sports, or installed sound, Digico offers compact and affordable products. From the S21 all the way up to the pioneering power of the Quantum 852, Digico delivers the workflow, the feature set, and the absolute reliability that the world's biggest tours and programs have come to rely upon. If you're looking for a sound console, look to Digico for your answer. For more information on Digico, go to digico.biz. That's digico.biz.
This is the Tech Arts Podcast, where we talk about tech, leadership, and all things that concern church audio, video, and lighting.
Welcome to the Tech Arts Podcast and the Earthworks Audio Studios. My name is DL. So glad to have you joining us today. Today's podcast is part 3 of our conversation with Buford Jones. In this segment, he talks about microphone technique. Buford brings some amazing insights on how to mic instruments, including examples of how he mic'd up Eric Clapton for the 1992 MTV Unplugged show. I believe it was the first Unplugged show that MTV did, and many say it was the best sounding one. You don't want to miss a second of today's podcast. Before we jump into that conversation, we have some giveaways to do. If you want to level up your leadership skills and be a better technical artist when it comes to leadership, then you're going to want this book called Leadership Frameworks. It was written by my friend Nicole Lucas. To secure your free copy, email me at information@digitalgreatcommission.org. It's a really cool book. It's got kind of a workshop format where you can kind of fill things in. It's a great book on leadership. You don't want to miss out on this free giveaway. So definitely email me at information@digitalgreatcommission.org. We're also giving away a SOUNDWIRE by SONNECT. We did a tech tip on this a few episodes back. This is an all-in-one cable for plugging your laptop into your console. The cable is basically a sound card with built-in protection for phantom power. This is it right here. I don't know if you could see that, but it's got a USB connection here to plug into your laptop, and then it goes straight to 2 XLRs. You can get it with this cool packet that can, carry it right on your side if you want to be that person. But it's really cool. It's got phantom power protection for the XLRs, and basically it's essentially a sound card here inside the USB connection. So if you want to win that, we're giving it away. Be the first to email me at information@digitalgreatcommission.org and we'll ship you the SOUNDWIRE by SONNECT. Again, to secure those freebies, email us at information@digitalgreatcommission.org. Okay, now we have to pay for these giveaways, so hang on. Our interview with Buford Jones starts right after these messages from our sponsors. From sold-out stadiums to intimate live performance venues, sound engineers agree on one thing for the best digital mixing consoles for live sound. The only name that matters is Digico. As the recognized worldwide standard for live audio mixing, Digico consoles are renowned for their industry-leading sound quality and ease of use. Whether your application is in a church, broadcast, theater, corporate, sports, or installed sound, Digico offers compact and affordable products. From the S21 all the way up to the pioneering power of the Quantum 852, Digico delivers the workflow, the feature set, and the absolute reliability that the world's biggest tours and programs have come to rely upon. If you're looking for a sound console, look to Digico for your answer. For more information on Digico, go to digico.biz. That's digico.biz.
What's MXU? We get asked that all the time. MXU is the platform for churches to recruit, train, and retain their volunteer teams. It starts with our vast content library with discipline-specific training videos. You can assign videos to team members, upload your own videos, and you can even organize them into courses for a more guided approach. You can keep track of a volunteer's watch progress and check in when they might be falling behind. And with groups, you can keep track of multiple teams and assign roles to specific users to give them the ability to manage your volunteer team. It doesn't matter if you're a team of 5 or 50, MXU will help you care for and stay on top of training for each volunteer. This is MXU, used to help churches recruit, train, and retain their volunteer teams. Join the community and start using MXU for free today.
From front of house to center stage, for over 25 years, Earthworks microphones have sculpted the sounds of your favorite concerts, venues, and performances. Earthworks Audio is a sponsor of the Tech Arts Podcast. We are so happy to have them on board and excited to promote the new Earthworks SR117 vocal mic and capsules. To find out more about Earthworks Audio or to get your hands on this mic, go to earthworksaudio.com. That's earthworksaudio.com. Capturing emotion with sound. earthworksaudio.com. Our main sponsor is Digital Great Commission Ministries. Whether you need help building a team, finding the right gear, or just better understanding the church tech world, DGCM is here for you. Because they are a 501c3 donor-sponsored organization, they come to your church for free and do an assessment of your tech, visitor engagement, and online streaming. Plus, we give away free gear. Be sure to go to audiovideolighting.com and register your email today. This will sign you up for all of the free giveaways and give you first access to everything we offer for free. If you want free resources, training, or consulting, contact Digital Great Commission Ministries today by going to audiovideolighting.com. That's audiovideolighting.com. Welcome back to the Tech Arts Podcast. Let's jump right into part 3 of our conversation with Buford Jones. We pick up with me asking Buford about microphone technique. Let's listen in. Earthworks makes some really awesome microphones, and it kind of leads me to something I wanted to ask you when it comes to microphones. And that is, I think a lot of young people are missing this today, but the basics of audio, like mic technique, with Waves plugins, and there's nothing wrong with Waves plugins and things of that nature, but I think a lot of what you had to do in the 70s and 80s when it comes to mic technique and having good microphones placed in the right places.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about mic technique and the basics of audio and how it's getting missed today, and what young people need to kind of look back towards in order to get better at their craft.
I'd say first off, a mic technique and choosing your mics. Sound companies used to ask me before the start of a tour we're about to do, what microphones you want us to bring, and I said, I want you to bring everything you got, and I need to see the instrument. So it's one of those things where I don't really like to predict it. I like to have a choice and try some things. Fortunately, the multi-platinum artists that we worked with, we had at least a week of rehearsals. Pink Floyd, we rehearsed for 6 weeks. But I think only in the 70s did you rehearse for a couple of days. So during that rehearsal period is where I changed a lot of mics out and try things to make my final decision. That's why I say bring everything you got. But it's about listening. And I can tell you numerous cases. And I was just in Australia, I think it's 2 years ago with Al Jarreau, maybe 3 years, right at 3 years ago, Al Jarreau on his annual world jazz thing in what we were doing in Australia. And he had a lot of really great musicians that played instruments that I didn't see every day, And then somebody from stage went, what mic do you want us to put on this? And I said, I don't know. I'll be right there. We'll have a look at it. So, if this is the instrument, not the microphone, I want to listen to it at several angles. I want to see how the sound develops, and where it developed. This particular was a bowed instrument, but other than that, I didn't know what it was. And as I found a sweet spot just by moving my head, not the microphone, my head. And I'm like, okay, right here. I'm hearing this in this vicinity. Let's mic it right there at a bit of a distance. Close miking is something that we have to do a lot in loud rock and roll in the early days because it bleed from one instrument to another somewhat. So that's fairly common, but I think we can still get away with sensible miking. And I think that's where all engineers need to think about. And your microphone choices. Wow, we've got so many choices. It's over the top. I don't know how it can get any better than that. And I choose microphones that, I might want some that have a contour, but that's rare because I'm all about flat response and working with flat response. And some people misinterpret that to think I want to hear a flat response. No, I don't. I mix to a flat response, and here is where I'll put my contour at the console. I'm sorry, you're not seeing that. There's a little SSL thingy there. And that's where I want to contour the PA to my sound. And then that way, when I do that, it transfers to the tape recording mechanism. And it's a lot closer to what I'm talking about. So staying on that, give you another great, for instance, one is Eric Clapton, who we did the first MTV Unplugged, the first one that started that whole series off. When I say the first one, when they started MTV Unplugged, Eric Clapton was the first one on it. And so I hadn't really dealt with that atmosphere before. We played in a studio there in London, and we, of course, wanted to keep the PA very, very low, which was my responsibility. And so I mic'd everything. They were fine with however I wanted to mic whatever. And and then I balanced the PA for the show and the taping. And so I had found this technique, and this would be a good illustration right here, and I'm going to go find it for you. I've got a guitar right here. And I had read this in I think it's called REP or DB. They were magazines back in the 70s, and they were talking about mic and acoustic instruments and pianos and guitars. And what they were showing was like this microphone here. If I was to position this, it's where the guitar itself and the microphone is almost directly over the hole, shooting straight down. Now, they had interviewed 10, on this particular article back in the early 70s, they had interviewed 10 engineers by playing them different positions of the microphone, and they'd all vote on which one sounded the most natural. And this one was number 2. Oddly enough, number 1 was the PZM principle, where the microphone sat on the floor, or even taking a dynamic microphone, pointing it straight down the floor to 45. No, it's straight down, and you're kind of playing at a 45-degree angle. Well, of course, you can't pat your feet when you play.
Yeah.
But
you hear the tapping.
Yeah, it was a PZM principle, and this one was second, to achieve the most natural sound of the instrument. So, I started this, and in my studio, I tried a few times, and I said, that works pretty cool. Now, this person cannot breathe real heavy, or if he's got a cold, we're going to get all that in the microphone quite a bit. Now, we're talking about in a studio here, really, but so what this is, when you're playing like this, that microphone is very close to my ear.
Now, did you do this on the Eric Clapton MTV Unplugged? This is the concept you used on the acoustics?
That's correct.
Wow.
And when I told him that, he said, that's just very unusual. And I said, oh, fine, I'll mic it anywhere you tell me to. Think of it this way again. If I was just playing this instrument and you were in this room listening to me play this, you wouldn't stick your head right here. You just wouldn't. And even if you were 6 feet away, well, then you're hearing it develop in that time period. But we can't mic it that far away because of ambient noise and whatever. So we're restricted to come to it. But this guitar was not meant to be heard like that. So
right. Everybody listening online, he's holding it up to his head like it's not meant to come right out of the hole of the instrument.
That's right. It's kind of a combination of both, really, the gel. And to the musician, and Eric was one of them, and I'll try to get that finished, where he listened to it later and he couldn't stop talking about it. And at first he said, can we move it out like this a little bit? Can we kind of do that? And I said, yeah, I'm all right with that. We ended up back with it in here. Now, Andy Fairweather Lowe is the other guitar player. They were both playing Romero's classical guitars, and Andy was fine with his straight up. And when Eric went in and listened to the playback in the truck, a recording truck, he came and told me, he said, that thing sounds fascinating. It just sounds great. And I think that's where he hears it. This is where he hears it, if that microphone is close to you. Now, is that the way an acoustic guitar is meant to be heard? Well, to the listener it is, to the player it is. And like I said, I've just had really good luck with that. And oddly enough, or interestingly enough, it's the musicians that play it that comment on it the most. You might hear a totally different guitar sound. But I think in that situation, Eric playing on the Romero's, that you want to get the value of that guitar. So we did, and you can see that if you watch MTV Unplugged with Eric Clapton. So
yeah, and it's one of the most iconic that they did. I mean, the first one is still talked about today on the Eric Clapton MTV. Now, it sounds so natural, but you can't really do that live. So if you're mixing live, what's your solution for live? Okay,
so we did this show, MTV, and then Eric called me back to the dressing room after the show, and he mentioned again, the guitar sounds amazing. He says, can we do that live? And I said, I don't
Same exact question I asked you.
Yeah, I don't really think so. I said, if we did, we would have to reduce the volume of the PA. In other words, you would need to tell the audience that we're now going into an acoustic set. See, because we've been playing rock and roll. We've been playing loud, powerful rock and roll. And then if you go down to an acoustic set, most of the people are going to be going like, whatever the PA went out. No, the PA didn't go out. We're going to do an acoustic set now. So I told him, if you did that, if you mentioned it to them, well, then we may not get tomatoes thrown at us or what, just so that they got an idea at the level of, see, he played 3 songs. No. I'm thinking about when he was with George Harrison. So that was it. We played a UK tour, and we tried it a couple of times at the Shoko Prism, and I was quite surprised at the level that I got off of it, and it died down to a nice, pleasant. It didn't seem to go away. It just came down to a nice, pleasant acoustic set, which is what it should have been. So, but you could not have the master on the same or the SPL that you had been rocking out with and turn that microphone on and hope to get away with that. So, because it takes some gain into the mic to do it. And so we did it. We had no problem with it. We did it in these large arenas, and he'd say a little bit before it come up. At first, it almost sounded to me like he didn't want to mention that. Then he thought, yeah, it's maybe good I should. So he did. And he'd say a little bit about, we're going to play an acoustic set. So it's going to be a little quieter. And there was. Never had a complaint. Never had anything. I wasn't able to read any of the reviews from that show, but I don't know. It sounded pretty good. I mean, needless to say, that band was just an amazing band and played so well. And just balanced things out. And I had enough room for the acoustic guitar to fit. And rather than see what's the max level I can get out of it and let that dictate my level now and have to mix everything underneath it, no, I did pretty much what I would normally do. Just the overall volume is reduced a little bit. So it worked out real well. And then pianos, for instance, we for years struggled with that. Grand pianos in the 70s was very common. The nightmare of it all was that until Sound Productions in Dallas, Texas began buying 10 Steinway Grands and renting them to rock stars, we would get a different piano every day. And then we would have to either put a Helping Still, a Countryman, whatever, Frap, whatever pickups on it. It'd always be different. It just, some days, an absolute struggle. And then microphones inside it. I realized in time that me miking the piano from inside, once again, is not the way that instrument was made to be heard. Nobody crawls inside a piano and even knows what it sounds like with the lid closed. If you can imagine the reflections, I mean, from side to side, the reflections top to bottom, off the harp to the top, there's a lot of reflections going on in there. So I started working later in my career with a piano lid open, even with a rock band. And if we could take the lid and face it in a way that it is open, but it is toward the drum kit, so that any direct sounds from the drum kit are not going to interfere with it too much. And I had really good luck with that as well. And just mic it from just a little bit out. It's where somebody would stand and listen to that piano. Now, we can debate all that. Can we make it sound better? Yeah, well, maybe you can. You can go inside and go through all this routine and get a bigger, fuller sound. I'm sure Elton John, they have their techniques that they've done over the years and changed. But for me, it was pianos, especially when they were different every gig, were always a struggle. And it seems like in important situations, a really good piano player, if I could, I would go to a little bit more of a distance miking, which you don't normally see in PA. So the story to the young people is what I'm trying to say. Don't have any set rules. Listen to what it goes on. A kick drum, for instance, the kick drum, we sure makes their SM52, I think, and then AKG makes one, that's right. And, these things have a low-end boost, and I go, well, why do I need a low-end boost? Because that's all the instrument is a low-end boost. I don't need more low-end in the microphone. In fact, I would favor a mic. I use SM91 because I like in most cases, because I like the attack and that PZM principle microphone and its brightness over this M52 and others. And then that way I could add low end instead of sucking it out.
You can make it sound like what you wanted it to sound like.
Yes. And so there's a whole routine we used to try to acquire. And I can say to the young people, anything you can do to couple that kick drum to the platform that he's playing on, and any way to couple that platform even further down to the ground makes a humongous difference in the solidarity of the kick drum. It makes it fatter, less resonant, less. So that's, we carry sandbags, put a sandbag in it, weight it down, but I want a pillow going from the front head to the back head. I want them both touching, and or a piece of foam. Not where I've smothered them. No, I just don't want them sitting there hovering and moving while the
resonating or whatever.
Resonating from the bass guitar or any other instruments like that. So I couple the front and the back head, but try not to affect the tuning. That worked out real well. Double mic, as many has. I've triple mic'd a snare drum. Russ Kunkel and I had a lot of fun with it. And
where do you tell us where you put those mics on the snare drum and the kick? So you say double mic, like inside and outside, I'm assuming, for the kick?
Yeah, I think it's where more common I see double mic in other people, not just myself. I'll usually end up with one. Every time I have two, an in and an out, for some reason I just end up with the in, just using it. And I don't know. Again,
and what about the snare drum? Where are you putting the mics on the snare? You said 3 microphones?
I want the head of the microphone, the element, over the snare drum itself. So this piece of paper was the snare drum, a square snare drum, mind you, but this being the edges of it, I want that element just a little bit over the head. The rest of it's sticking out here, and that, by the angle, determines the amount of, I think, high end that we're hearing off of this. We can accentuate the high end, not really accent it. We can just vary in the mic. Well, I think for better top, I like to have it more like this. It gets a little fatter like this, and it makes sense. And then I mic the bottom, which I call the snare mic, and what I call the snare is the snare. That's the band of little squiggly wires. That's what I want to hear, the wires. So I'm micing the snare when I go up underneath. I don't know if most engineers are doing that, if they're just thinking, well, we'll get the bottom sound of the snare drum. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. But I will concentrate more on getting it as close as I can get to the snares, and then I will high pass them about all the way up to about 800,000 cycles if the high pass filter has that range.
Just to give you you just want the rattle,
just want the rattles. Just want the rattles.
And where do you put the third mic at?
A third mic that we did with Russ Kunkel and Jackson Brown, he would have the head off of his drum. And oddly enough, Carl Countryman, long before the Shure SM98 was out, Carl Countryman had the ECM 101. It was about the size of your fingernail, and about that thick, eighth of it, a little bit more, 3/16, and then this size here, and a little cable on it, and that went to the 48 volt. So we could put that mic inside the snare drum, and would take 2 rubber bands, and inside the snare drum mount these 2 rubber bands where they cross, and put that mic between those 2 rubber bands, and that would hold it in there. And I found that on many things, it was too unusual of a sound until I had him play cross stick on it. Wow. I mean, this thing just come across, right in your face, and just the click of the stick Wow. So I only use that internal mic, I'll call it, on a couple of ballads and when he is going across stick. And I'd have to turn it up while he plays that figure. But as soon as he goes back to the snare, I got to get that mic down. But I love challenges like that in my early years. I loved it. I'm just always moving something. I'm just constantly moving something. So that was fun to me and worked out great. Russ and I, we also tried with the Countryman's 101. He come out with a couple of models after that. This had been in 1980 that we were doing it. I don't think the Shure come out till around 83, 84. I don't know. Somebody that could tell me for sure on that. But I know it was after the Countryman. And we set up his drums where we tried this on the holdout tour. And he had a pretty full set of drums. We mic'd every drum with the 101. And then the cymbals, on the cymbal stand, we would make a little clip thing that come out of the cymbal. And I tried micing the cymbals from underneath and would have to be pretty close to them. And it worked out amazingly well. When you mic the cymbals from underneath, you lose a little bit of the attack, but you gain a lot of sustain, really interesting sustain. So I found myself doing that where, we mic all the cymbals. Now, this was a chore to try to mix. I mean, it was a little overkill, but I was young, energetic. I love the challenge. And I'd have so many engineers come up to the console and after the show, I didn't see a mic stand up there. How'd you get that drum sound? I don't think they'd ever seen the Countryman mic. And I said, oh, there's mics up there. They're just hidden. But it made a beautiful drum set. You'd see no additional hardware, no mic stands, no booms, no nothing. And it worked out very well. But like I said, it was quite complex. I think it was a total of 4 overheads or cymbal mics, Cymbal mics is what we'd want to call that. So there'd be 4 of them. And, I concentrate on the ride. The ride sounded really nice, losing just a touch of the ting around 8K, 10K. But that's fine. I can add that back. I can put a little peak on parametric EQ at 8 or 10 and kind of get it back. But the sustain was real interesting and really neat. So we did, I'm pretty sure, the whole holdout tour on that. And that was several months. So that was unique and fun. So that's where I said much earlier in talking about microphones, I like to be very open. I like to hear, listen to the instrument first before I decide for sure what kind of a mic on it. And I used to do that with Russ Kunkel. I admired his playing so much. And he's such a fine person to be around. And a lot of times at rehearsals, I would go up there and sit behind him, right directly behind him. I mean, I'm almost touching him. I wanted to hear what he was hearing.
Hear exactly what he was hearing.
Wow, was that an experience? And that's where I gained a lot of perspective on how somebody else does it's fine. Let them do it however they want to do it. And I'm fine with it. But it seemed like we all kind of stayed at the same principle overall. I'm just saying, be open. Listen to the sound of the instrument before you decide what kind of microphone you put on it. Give you another example, David Bowie. What tour was that? Thin White Duke. But anyway, I had a Bayer N160 NC, which was a ribbon microphone. It's a small ball. Microphone was fairly small. It was like I think they made the M80 or ME80 or M88. Yeah, they made the M88. It's kind of a smaller M88, but it's ribbon. And, most of us wouldn't choose a ribbon mic. Now here I had David in his earlier years. He was in his late 20s, early 30s then. So, his voice was still quite high and energetic. And I found that a lot of his singing, he was staying in the higher register. So I was going, I'm going to look for a warm mic. I'm kind of countering this, to get a natural sound. Why don't I just put a warm mic on them and not EQ it unless I have to? So that's what I did. Ended up, he loved it straight away because of the feel of it. It was small, easy to handle. He loved it. And then what I was able to get out front was just that, a warmer sound on when he went to higher registers, which was fairly often. So,
But you know what I'm hearing you say, Buford, and I think this is something that a lot of young people who want to get into the industry need to hear. Use your ears. I think today with digital consoles, all the visuals that are in front of us, I don't know how many guys I've seen go up to an audio console and they, change the EQ to what they think it should look like instead of using their ears. I'm hearing you say, use your ears. Listen to where the microphone should be in terms of the piano or the acoustic guitar. Don't be afraid to experiment.
That's right. Yes.
I think that's something that gets missed today.
Or what you're used to everybody else is doing now on a touring basis, for sure do that. It's sometimes in some shows and concerts, we don't have time. We don't have time to go up there and listen. We're just thrown in a situation, a festival situation. And sure, I understand the standard range of microphones, and that's what they should be. We might not have the time to do a sound check, and there's times when you can't do what I'm saying, but you can if you're on tour. You should not have any problem doing that. And then my crew, they would watch how I position these microphones and what I do, and then they would ensure that they get back to those positions if they were changed or anything between the show or the drummer bumped on them or whatever. So they knew exactly what I was kind of doing and could just ensure that those microphones stayed there. But yes, be open-minded and creative. Creative will, I think, surprise you at a lot of times of what you might come up with. And that is still within the boundaries of what you're there to do. You have a little bit of flexibility. We can't make it exactly like the record. We want to get the hook, signature everywhere that we can. But then it's live anyway.
Let's talk PAs a little bit, Buford. What PAs do you like, first off? And then I think the other question is, what's the biggest mistake you see being made with the modern era PA?
I think it's coming around. I've noticed the last 10 to 15 years, more people are accepting the word, and shouldn't use the word flat, as John Mayer calls it, equal amplitude response. That is so critical. And to me, many people don't agree with me on that. They'll tune a PA to Steely Dan, and Steely Dan ain't playing tonight, so to me, why are you using Steely Dan to tune your PA? Well, I know what Steely Dan sounds like. Well, okay, that's fine. There's no problem with that. But don't, use paint noise and sim the system or use an analyzer. And then you're usually told, even by the best instructors, after you've analyzed it, you set it basically equal amplitude. Now put in your music and listen to your music. If it's not satisfying to you, no. I'm sorry, I'm not there. If I put in my music to an equal amplitude PA and I play music off the CD, chances are it's going to sound thinner than what you're used to. So I just go to where the tape return comes into the console, and I know my headroom already by taking the bass and turning it up. If you want to thump people's chest, that's fine. I have no problem with that. I have none. But then again, just do it at the console. And then you'll find on this, I think that's the most complaints is that, well, the low end and what it should be. Well, the low end is in rock shows is not what it's supposed to be either. It's highly exaggerated, and we're so used to hearing it exaggerated. Fine. Once again, I'll say if you want the exaggerated sound, still do it at the console. So anything that comes out to the show, if I'm feeding it to a video truck and we're doing straight to the truck or whatever, I want to know that I've created the sound here. So the way all this started with me is when the PAs were going out, nobody was around to teach me how to tune the PA. Another with a microphone in it. We had cassette machines back then.
A lot of people, Buford, just said, "What's a cassette machine?" If you don't know, go Google it.
Okay.
You popped it in, you hit play, you had to actually rewind things or fast forward.
Yeah.
It's about this big. Anyway, Google it.
Yeah, you Google it. It'd be the best thing. And it was low quality music reproduction. And they'll put that tape in, and then they'll tuning of the PA. Say if it's a 3-way system. When I started Shoko, it was a 2-way system, highs and lows. That's it. Then it went from lows, mid, highs, and then it went to a 4-way. So I noticed that to achieve this, we want to go to the crossover. If this is where I haven't been making my points, while you're theoretically doing your tuning to the PA, and we'll go to that low end and turn it up. Yeah, listen to that. Yeah. Okay, well, you've just exaggerated your frequency response that you're mixing to. So that's why when I first started making show tapes, Shoko had got us engineers a Nakamichi 550. Now, I don't know if you remember that, but that was the first and probably only almost professional cassette machine. It was in competition to the Nagaras. The Nagaras were reel-to-reel that they would do films with and record. And then
I'm just going to shake my head here and act like I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
I don't know about the Nagamuchi cassette player.
Cassette deck that was kind of flat, and it's pretty big. The meters up here, and a little cassette thing there. And everybody that listened to it was just freaked out. It's one of those you plug in headphones and they can't believe it when they're hearing this come out of this machine at that time period. And so when I'd record my console mix, and then I'd play it back, I was just real excited to get in the truck or back to the hotel room the night off, put on the headphones and listen to what I did. And I'm going, where's the bass guitar? I'm not hearing the bass guitar. I'm hearing maybe a little bit of tick on it. And the kick drum just sounds like tick, tack, tick, tack. Well, I realized that probably on the console, I'm reducing with high-pass filters or reducing the low end because the kick drum is just too boomy in the room. Well, and it just went on for a couple of nights, and I'm going, and I understood very easily on making recordings while a guitar amp or double stack Marshall was pointed at me. And yeah, okay, I could say to the guitar player, can you just turn that a little bit? Can you tilt it back a little bit? Just so that the direct energy is not headed toward me.
Everybody out there who works with guitar players at churches is like, and then he didn't move it. He turned it, but then he turned it up louder.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, that can happen. That can happen. I don't know. I think when you show them the results, and when I say all I have to say to the guitar player, hey, look, this echo, I'd rather apply this echo from the front of house with your guitar, because when I apply the echo returns in stereo. So now you got a real wide dimension. You can send me that guitar with echo already on it, but it's mono. It's not exciting to me. And therefore, we were mentioning with that, I sort of lost my train of thought. I'm doing that after I pass 75.
Yeah, we were talking about PAs and, you were talking about, mixing and how the kick drum didn't have a lot of, it was just tick, tick, tick.
Yes. And so I realized that what I need to do is stop adding at the crossover or processor to the PA, take that low end and turn it down. And a lot of different PA companies that I worked with for almost the next well, forever, really. I'd ask their engineers to give me a flat response with pink noise. Let me say something about pink noise and flat response. When you're doing video, you have color bars. And without color bars, especially used to, now it's much more accurate. But used to, you had to go tweak the monitor, the video monitor to color bars. And that way you knew more than not that your transfer is going to look more like it should in the color spectrum it should. So to me, pink noise in audio is the same thing as color bars in video. And
yeah, that's a good way of putting it. You know, color bars in video helps you orient what your video should look like, and it gives you a standard waveform, decibel meters on audio, kind of the same thing. Yeah, so you're saying get a pink noise out there, tune your room to the flat response, and don't necessarily accentuate different things, and then use your console, which is an instrument of worship. Use your console as your instrument to paint the atmosphere, the more bass, the more highs. Is that what you're saying, Buford?
Exactly. You find yourself boosting frequencies that you never did before. For instance, on the bass guitar or the kick drum, and usually that low end is somewhat problematic to get it out the way you want it. So now with this not reduced, just simply flat energy coming out to the PA, I can recognize frequencies more and be able to control them more now that I know it's tuned to that. Well, the kick drum now, I may take a 60 cycle narrow peak and then just vary that 60 cycles and listen to it, boost it up 4 or 5 dB for a moment and just sweep it. Ooh, there's a sweet spot right there. That's the musical spot. Leave it there. Whatever it is, just leave it there. So with subs introduced, it's the same thing. I want my subs to be on the same level as the high boxes, and I will do the same. And I found it just amazing that I can control that kick drum, its low frequency, and the bass guitar, where they're not so overlapping in tonal characteristics, and therefore muddying up the whole bottom of the PA. I think you can get it much more cleaner, and where you're adding the low end. Now, that's also going to your recording medium. So when you listen to it, oh, there's the bass I was looking for, and there's the kick drum I was looking for. So I learned that, like I said, in the mid 70s, and I did that all my career. And I think it has a lot to do with David Gilmour of Pink Floyd asking me to do the live record. It's called the Delicate Sound of Thunder, the Momentary Lapse of Reason tour. And he did not listen to show tapes very much at all whenever we first started. We were out 2 years. So we went around the world a couple of times. And John Caron, and I always would key on one member of the band. It might be the band leader. It might be just somebody that not all the band wants to listen to these things. They're done with it after they've played it. They're just done with it. Okay, that's fine. I can't get enough of it. I can't get enough of it. You can't play it too many times for me. But we're all different on that aspect. So with John and I would listen, and John had an amazing, this is on Pink Floyd, this is a keyboard player, John Caron, in addition to the Rick Wright, the original keyboard player, that mainly stayed on organ and Rhodes. So John had an amazing background of the Pink Floyd library. He could tell you where everyone was recorded and who played on it and this and that. So he was a tremendous help. And he was saying the pad, you really need to get this guitar and keyboard working together that forms this pad, which is part of the hook of the song, but at the same time, it's the raw element. If I didn't have him telling me that, I never would have known that. I mean, and other things. And as I said, taking this input from the band and then go trying it the next day at sound check would be exciting. Wow. I did what they said. You know, I can listen on the back of the bus while we're traveling together, because I was fortunate enough to travel with the artists, most all the artists I worked for. And I can listen to whatever, the bass player and the B3 playing together, and they're talking and they're saying something about, yeah, in the bridge, I was playing this, trying to keep up with what you were playing, tightening. And they're not just saying that to me, but I'm listening to that and I go, oh, really? The bass and the B3, really? Okay. So I go out the next day and I'm like, whoa, that's nice.
You know what I'm hearing you say, Buford, is I'm hearing you say, listen to feedback. Listen to feedback as in the good feedback. Listen to people talking to you and giving you advice. Listen to your mixes. Make adjustments to those. Learn. I think one of the issues that I see when I go into churches is the sound engineer thinks that the way he's mixing is perfect or the way she's mixing is perfect. Mm-hmm. They think that they're mixing for themselves, and they don't realize they're actually mixing for the audience. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what I'm hearing you say through your many years of experience is, even if you went and mixed a show today and somebody said, hey, what if you try this? I think you would go and tweak and see how that played out in your mix. And I think that's missing in a lot of young people's mixes today. The ability to learn from mistakes, the ability to mix for the audience and not necessarily for themselves. And I'm hearing you talk about that as you describe how you learned and how you mixed.
I'm struggling with the church that I'm at now to get them to honor sound checks and know the difference between a sound check and a rehearsal.
We have to stop right there, but you don't want to miss part 4 of our conversation with Buford. Not only does he talk about the difference between sound checks and rehearsals, but we also get into his spiritual journey. It's an emotionally powerful episode, and some of Buford's answers may surprise you. Well, that wraps things up for today's episode. I can't wait to talk to you on the next Tech Arts podcast. Until then, I'm David Leuschner, signing off by wishing you a great day and praying God blesses every moment of your week. See you soon.
You have been listening to the Tech Arts Podcast, presented by Digital Great Commission Ministries. DGCM is a 501c3 nonprofit that was started to help churches with all things technical. Whether you need help building a team, finding the right gear, or just a better understanding of the church tech world, DGCM is here for you. Find out more about our free on-site visits, reports, and consulting by going to audiovideolighting.com. Digital Great Commission Ministries will help you run your church service like a pro. Find out more at audiovideolighting.com.
Every church creative is feeling the pressure to produce better video content, better live streams, and more and better social media. And it can seem overwhelming, but if you're looking for new ideas, if you're looking for new solutions, if you're looking for the camaraderie, networking, and mentorship to help you on your personal journey, you need to attend the Capture Summit this year. I'm Marcel Patillo, the creative videographer over at Church of the City in Tennessee. Join me and hundreds of other techs and creatives at Capture Summit at Woodlands Church in Houston, Texas, September 17th through 18th. You will not want to miss this.
From sold-out stadiums to intimate live performance venues, sound engineers agree on one thing for the best digital mixing consoles for live sound. The only name that matters is Digico. As the recognized worldwide standard for live audio mixing, Digico consoles are renowned for their industry-leading sound quality and ease of use. Whether your application is in a church, broadcast, theater, corporate, sports, or installed sound, Digico offers compact and affordable products. From the S21 all the way up to the pioneering power of the Quantum 852, Digico delivers the workflow, the feature set, and the absolute reliability that the world's biggest tours and programs have come to rely upon. If you're looking for a sound console, look to Digico for your answer. For more information on Digico, go to digico.biz. That's digico.biz. From front of house to center stage, for over 25 years, Earthworks microphones have sculpted the sounds of your favorite concerts, venues, and performances. Earthworks Audio is a sponsor of the Tech Arts Podcast. We are so happy to have them on board and excited to promote the new Earthworks SR117 vocal mic and capsules. To find out more about Earthworks Audio or to get your hands on this mic, go to earthworksaudio.com. That's earthworksaudio.com. Capturing emotion with sound. earthworksaudio.com. With Sermon Shot's church-specific AI, sermon highlights don't go unnoticed. Easily transform your sermons into 10-plus bite-sized clips, ready for social media. It doesn't stop there. Refine each clip by adding or removing video sections, give them your unique touch with colors, fonts, design edits, and create the goosebump moment with background music. Elevate your message and reach hearts locally and globally. Start today by going to sermonshots.com. Luminex Network Intelligence manufactures data distribution equipment for professional lighting, audio, and video applications. Luminex offers a complete range of network switches, converters, nodes, and DMX splitters, providing AV designers and technicians with cutting-edge technology to build complete data distribution systems for churches, big events, or large venues. Through products like the Luminode, Luminex keeps it simple and allows the user to easily control what they need to do or how they need to do it. Whatever your configuration is today, or whatever your configuration is in the future, Luminex is designed for today, but built for tomorrow. Luminex Network Intelligence, AV networking made easy. For more information, go to aclighting.com. That's aclighting.com.